project this year is an assessment of marine species around offshore islets in the main Hawaiian Islands, which we're doing in partnership with the Department of Aquatic Resources. And it's a project that's part of a larger project that is being run by a committee, the Offshore Islet Restoration Committee, which has the task of and to determine the biotic composition, environmental conditions, and degree of damages that might be occurring at various islets in the Hawaiian chain, not the main islands, but the small islets offshore. And at present, in terms of marine information, at least when we began the project, there were only 11 of 61 islets for which any marine information had been obtained. Most of this by special surveys, special visits by the DAR and NOAA in partnership. Well, in the islands which we're focusing on, which are range from Oahu to Maui, there are 44 islets in total, and only 7 of those have been already surveyed by DAR or NOAA. And so we were just going to up the ante on that by adding 10 more. The original ones that planned were 2 islets on Lanai, Po'opō, and Pu'upē, 3 islets on, or actually this Kaime should not be there, Moko'ia, Hulu, and the outer rim of Molokini on Maui, Okala and Hulu, and the paired islets, Kanaha and Mokuhaniki. I don't know how to pronounce that better when we've been there, off of Molokai. And originally, Dave Golka wanted to look at the small islet that's just offshore Waimea Bay, and also we have listed Keao Kipu off of east of Oahu. But on further reflection, we decided that this one off the North Shore, and also this islet, which is not really an islet off the North Shore of Maui, were not really worth looking at. But so we substituted Kaime. And interestingly enough, with the exception of Ken Longeneker's thesis work off of Kapapa, just off Kaneohe Bay, which is probably one of the most researched places in the entire world for marine and coral reef studies, there have been very little to nothing done on the offshore areas of Kapapa Island. So we added that one. So far, I'm happy to say we completed 6 of these, the 2 islets off of Lanai, the 3 off of Maui, 1 off of Oahu, which we just completed a couple of weeks ago, and weather been admitting, and the waves don't rise. We'll be doing Kapapa tomorrow. So that remains the 3 islets off of Molokai, which we'll be doing in September with the help of Eric Brown of the National Park Service. The objectives were to conduct rapid assessments for 2 or 3 islets on these 4 main islands, to document unique or sensitive habitats, newer keystone species richness and abundance, and introduced or invasive species that might be present at those sites. And to evaluate the findings in terms of potential or existing threats or disturbance from shore-based human activities. Most of these sites are remote, relatively pristine condition, so we want to see what's going to be do to keep them that way. Well, one of the biggest tasks I had on this was to do work which is normally done by 8 divers by the NOAA DAR approach, with 4 divers, because that's all the space that we had in the small boats that we're operating from, which are provided by the DAR as part of their contribution to the effort. And so what we've done is devise a different protocol, which I think gives even more information and better information for the benthic components of these. We do 2 divers at each site, and the first one's a general reconnaissance dive, where all 4 divers in pairs, of course, go out and try to visually determine those species which are present. One of us specializes in algae, that's Luis Giuseppe, one of our interns. One specializes in macroinvertebrates, that's Melanie Hutchinson. And then the DAR, she's also an intern. DAR provides the expertise for fish, and I do kind of general observations on habitat and coral composition. In the process of this, we lay out pelican buoys to mark the beginning and the end of both the recon surveys and the transect sites, which we do in the second dive, and also significant observations that we have found in the course of those, and then take GPS marks. And so this produced georeference data on both habitat characteristics, species, and biomass using the standard DAR NOAA protocol, and then benthic coverage, which we're doing using photographic methods and CPC analysis. And also, visually, we do a lot of the photography, which both gives us a record of what's there and gives us an additional identification aid for determining species, which we weren't quite sure of in field observations. And finally, we take a small amount of material, such as the DAR NOAA protocols do, a small coral head, bring it back, and identify every macroinvertebrate that is present. Well, this is to give you a little information comparing our approach with the NOAA approach. What they do is they will lay out a transect, which is invisible here, but a 25-meter transect, and then the person who's doing the coral goes along the transect and using a stick or some other aid will name and number the number of corals in each size class from 0 to 1 up to 160 meters in diameter, and then record that data. Well, I don't have a lot of confidence in that. I've tried it myself. It's very difficult. I invite you to consider, it is going to show up too well in the light, but you have some very irregularly shaped corals here in various conditions. There can be a lot of them on a given 1 meter quadrat. And so I feel that this photographic approach, although it does take more time when you get back to the laboratory, is far more reliable in getting reliable and reproducible data